Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different and talk to you about some things that I wish that I had known before starting nursing school in my 40s. Things that I wish somebody had told me because, oof, it's a lot. So if you're thinking of doing any kind of nursing program, especially an accelerated one, and you haven't been to school in a long time, this video is definitely for you. So I just graduated from an accelerated LPN program from ECPI University. It's primarily in the Southeast, but it's really similar to a lot of accelerated nursing programs that are out there. I just want to kind of talk about my personal experience with the program, what life looks like after graduating. It's hard, but it's definitely possible. These are the kind of videos that I was searching YouTube for before I started school, and I just wanted to make one myself and tell you my personal experience, just in case you're just thinking about starting or you know somebody that's thinking about starting, you could share this with them. Nursing had always been something that I wanted to do. Ever since I was a kid, I would try to take care of things. Whether it was my stuffed animals, I would have them bandaged up. I'd be putting ointment on them, getting their fur all matted. We also had a medical diagnostic book, so I was fascinated with it. I would look at pictures of skin disorders and pictures of the human body, things that probably a 6 or 7-year-old would normally not be interested in looking at, but I was really into it. I would watch the surgery channel with my mom when I was a teenager, but I made the mistake of listening to a man, in particular my stepdad, who was not the nicest, tell me essentially that I was not smart enough to be a nurse, that I didn't have what it took to actually go to school to be a nurse, and I stupidly believed him and ended up kind of giving up on that dream until my late 30s, early 40s. I don't know why I listened to him, and I wish that I could go back in time and just shake myself and be like, girl, psh, 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 you know, like, wake up. What? Like, you were definitely smart enough. Like, you can do this. And to him, he's no longer here. But I would like to say I graduated at the top of my class, got the fellowship award, stayed on the dean's list the entire time, and made the honor society. So, thanks, Steve. I actually did have what it took to be a nurse. Thinking about going back to school when you're an adult is scary. It seems impossible because you think of all the reasons why you can't do it, right? You're raising a family, you're working full-time, money's tight, you don't know if you would ever even have time to make classes. The list goes on and on. But when I tell you, myself included, but the women in my class, full-time working single mothers, like, they made it work, you can make it work too. It's insane what we all banded together and were able to bust out of that program. And our program was intense. Why did I choose an accelerated program? Because I was not lucky enough to have a bachelor's degree. I ended up dropping out of college. 9/11 had just happened. I was like eating freedom fries and, you know, maxing out my express card. I wasn't going to class. So I just kind of just sort of went my own way. And that was another reason that kind of kept me out of school for so long. I mean, I'd even attempted to go back to community college in my early 20s and just like flunked out because I just didn't go to class. I was not into it. I wasn't ready for it. And that's the big thing. When you're ready for something and you've decided, yes, this is it, this is the time, this is what I want to do, literally nothing can stop you. I became a force of nature. I was so determined to get this done. I was so determined to get into school that at that point, nothing was standing in my way. I had to go with a route where, let me take that back. I'm going to roll that back. I didn't have to take this route, but for me, it worked. So I could have gone through a typical community college, but I didn't have any prerequisites under my belt. I didn't have anything that would transfer, right? So I was really starting from scratch. And being in at the time I was 40, I was like, I don't have years to do this. I mean, granted, 40 is not old, but it's not like I was in my 20s where I could kind of take it a little bit more leisurely. I had to get this stuff done, right? So I ended up looking online for accelerated nursing programs in my area. ECPI University was the one that was within my area that was the highest rated. So they had a 14-month LPN program where it was night classes. And that's what I was looking for because, hello, we still have to pay bills. We still have to work. I needed something that would give me an opportunity to take my classes at night, work during the day, and also maybe be like a little bit more flexible with like clinical hours, things like that. Otherwise, I would still probably be taking my prerequisites. You know what I mean? Like 14 months later, I have my LPN license. I have my diploma. I've done the damn thing. I don't have to worry about it. Now all I have to worry about is doing my bridge to RN, but that's a conversation for another time. That's another video in itself. So let's talk about the main thing, the cost. Accelerated programs, you're getting what you pay for. You're paying for convenience, you're paying for speed, you're paying for no wait lists. You're paying to get in and get your shit done. So the cost is going to be astronomical. And I say that being fully transparent. I have a butt ton of student debt now. I have I'll be honest, I think the entire program, after everything was said and done, was about $40,000. That's insane, especially for an LPN program. I don't even have my RN? What? So, I mean, it's crazy. You get what you pay for, though. I have the license and I'm able to work now. I'm going to work my ass off trying to pay down that student loan. But I will say, there are scholarships. There was a scholarship that I was able to get. There's so many resources online. ECPI was able to set me up with a monthly payment plan. They definitely work with you based on your income and what you can do realistically. That was super helpful. I was also very fortunate in the sense that my fiance was able to help me as well. But that's, I think, one of the biggest things that you need to know about an accelerated program that you need to be aware of before you get into it is that the cost is going to be so much more than you would pay at a community college. But you have to weigh the pros and the cons, you know? Another thing too that you kind of have to prepare for, there's definitely a little bit of lost income possibly from not being able to maybe work your full-time hours as much as you used to be able to. For me, my job was really flexible. There were times where, especially in the beginning, before I kind of got in and got my rhythm down pat, where I was just so exhausted that I was having to take a day off work at least once a week because I was just so mentally and physically drained. I needed that time to kind of recuperate. I was not able to really go gung-ho like I normally would with my 40 hours. So that's something to definitely keep in mind too. Everybody's different as, in relation to what you can physically or mentally handle. It's good to be self-aware and to know your limits going into this because something like this will truly test your limits like nothing else ever has. But I did manage to still work. I needed my health insurance. I needed to pay rent, I was able to make it work, but it was a bumpy ride and it did not come easily. Another thing to think about is just the sacrifice that you're going to have to make as far as your time. When I tell you, you might miss everything, birthdays, special events, concerts, I don't know, literally anything, vacations. It's not to be said that you can't do them at all because you can, but you have to be so good with your time management. And there's so much material being crammed into such a short time. I'm talking you could have a couple of tests a week, quizzes almost every other day, assignments that were due, papers that were due, and then not to mention the further you get in the program, you're doing 12-hour clinical days on the weekends. So it's a lot of time that you're devoting to this program, and it can genuinely feel like you're abandoning your other responsibilities, or that, your friends and family, maybe you're not there for them as much as you were able to be. But I had the conversation with my friends and family where I basically made them aware, I might go MIA for a year, guys. I'm so sorry. I love you. I will check in when I can. And I promise after this, we will make up for lost time. And we have. That's the thing. I've spent more time with my friends and family since graduating than I had like the entire last year. So it's okay, but you have to have a really supportive group of people in your life that know that this is going to be your number one priority for at least like 15 months. So much studying, so much studying, so much reading, so much time just honestly spent bed rotting. If you even get the chance, like I would have a day off. I don't want to be bothered. I did not want to be bothered. I was like, I will be in bed like Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka. Do not bother me. I'm just going to be vegging out, like staring at the wall, because my brain needed that to recuperate. So it's just something to keep in mind. You're just definitely going to have to set boundaries with the people in your life. They've got to be your number one fans, and they've got to have your best interest in mind. This is the one time in your life where you really have to force yourself and be okay with the fact that it's okay to be selfish. This is your future on the line. This is your passion and what you want to do. Don't let anything get in the way. I know I spoke about it a little bit, but something else to keep in mind is that this program can definitely take a toll on your mental health, even your physical health. The burnout was real. I have generalized anxiety disorder and a little touch of OCD. And one thing that I really struggled with that made my anxiety a little bit worse when I was in the program was lack of sleep and poor nutrition. It's really, really easy to not take care of yourself, which is ironic because you're nursing, which is all about taking the best care of everyone and yourself. But you are literally surviving on like Red Bull and junk food. Not necessarily, not everybody. But that's what this video is for, is I'm giving you a little like reminder of like, hey, don't do what I did, do better. But going back to my anxiety, learning about the human body and all the things that can go wrong with it. And part of my biggest part of my anxiety disorder is health anxiety. Every class I think that I was in was learning about a system where I was like, oh, well, I'm going to die. This is the big one. Learning about the cardiovascular system, I was convinced I had congestive heart failure. Learning about mental health, I was like, oh my God, what if I have schizophrenia? It was wild. The only term, and that's how I knew it was my health anxiety, because the only term that I didn't feel that way was mother baby and pediatrics, because I don't have kids and I've never had a baby. That was the 1 5-week moment of peace that I had in that program. It was a marathon, not a sprint, so I had to keep that in mind. I had my little calendars where I was just crossing off the days every day. I was like, all right, like 36 weeks until graduation. And that's what worked for me. That's what worked for me. That's what helped me. You have to find your own things that help you with that. But just trying to prioritize yourself, packing your lunches, taking just a little bit of time on your day off and making sure that you've got everything planned and prepped for the week. Your school uniforms are clean, you've got multiples of them, even like having them hung up in a separate part of your room. Like this is all school. Like I would have like my shoes, I'd have my clinical bag, my name badge, my little like arm sleeves, because we couldn't have tattoos showing, which is crazy. Everything that I needed, basically, I would have in one area and I wouldn't have to worry about it, but I do highly suggest doing that. But also, for your own sake, just make sure you're taking your meds if you take any medications, that you're still seeing, if you deal with any kind of mental health issues, that you are fully transparent with either your psychiatrist or your psychologist. Whoever you're seeing, let them know what's going on, that you're going to be in school, because there could have to be some adjustments made. Not necessarily, but there could be. So the academics and the pressure. The ECPI program being 15 months, each class is 5 weeks. So you've got the same class and the same instructor for 5 weeks, and you're cramming everything in. You've got usually 4 unit tests, and you've got 1 final exam, but everything moves really, really quickly. So you might be like med-surg 1 5-week period, and then you might go into pediatrics the next 5-week period. So it's boom, boom, boom. It's a different classroom. It's a different instructor. So you're definitely getting, you're always on your toes, and you have to be adaptable to change. Some classes you'll like better than others. some teachers you'll like better than others. It's definitely, it's not a smooth ride necessarily. So you just have to do what works for you and kind of find out what works for you. 5-week terms equals no time to fall behind. Also, ECPI was not a C's get degrees university. ECPI had an 80% minimum pass rule. So essentially, if you made anything in a class under a C, so I think 79.5 was the cutoff, you would fail that class and you could not move forward in the program. You had to wait until it came open again, and then you had to take it over again. So it was incredibly important to stay on top of your assignments, stay on top of your due dates. I cannot recommend enough getting a physical planner and using that planner and just like going through, making sure that you know exactly what's due, when it is due, how much time you have to do it. If you have any questions about the assignment beforehand, you need to go ahead and reach out to your instructor. You want to knock all that stuff out so at the end of the term, when it's time for finals, you can kind of coast, you know? You just got to do a review and take your final. That is the best advice that I can give. But it is so fast-paced that it's mind-boggling. And the material, it can be difficult, some of the material more than others, but a lot of it is memorization. A lot of it is finding your own resources. So getting on YouTube, finding creators that make specific content for nursing students. And there's a ton of great ones out there. Just kind of finding what works better for you. Not everybody learns the same way. Find out what your learning style is. Find out what works for you. If flashcards work for you, do it. If, just taking practice test questions on a subject works for you, do it. Don't try to do what everybody else is trying to do. Just do what works for you and stick to it. And if something's not working, switch it up. Try something else. But you can definitely do it. And I also cannot stress enough, if you're having issues, like as soon as you understand that you are having an issue, you're not feeling good about something, you need to immediately reach out to your instructor for tutoring opportunities, extra credit opportunities, anything that you can possibly do to stay on top of it so you don't fall behind. These programs are so tough that, and I don't even know if it's necessarily the academics of it all that makes it tough. Like for instance, we started out, my cohort, it was almost 30 people and 10 of us graduated. For various reasons, honestly. People that dropped or failed out because of different things. It could be people just lives when you're in nursing school. That's another thing. Your car could be doing great for years and all of a sudden you get in nursing school. I literally got a flat tire one time on the highway, almost at school. I was able to like very slowly coast to school without ruining my tire, which was crazy, but it blew out. Got to school, I had a test. I had to immediately get inside, call Geico road assistance. And as I was like taking my class inside, I looked outside and the Geico tow truck was just like taking my car away. And I was like, what the fuck? It was stressful, but like things are gonna happen. Life is gonna life. Challenges are gonna come up. And just for whatever reason, sometimes people don't make it. And that doesn't mean that you're never going to make it. That means that maybe this time just wasn't for you. And you might just have to retake it or rejoin the program later down the line when things are able to get up and going. And that's okay. That's fine. So, cohort dynamics in the program. Is it always a cakewalk? No. You've got a lot of high pressure situations going on. And you have a lot of strong personalities. You have a lot, typically, of women. We didn't have any males in my program. It could get really catty, and it could get really messy. So my best advice is to find the people. You'll find your person. I found honestly, she's going to be a lifelong bestie for me. I love her so much. And I knew the second that I met her, we were just like this. Do you know what I mean? And if it hadn't been for her, I don't know if I would have even gotten through that program. We supported each other. We lifted each other up. We studied together. We went over material together. And we kept each other going when we needed it. Not everyone there is meant to be your friend. There just might be people whose personalities you just don't click with, and that's okay. Just don't take it personally and know that in the grand scheme of things, this is a very short period of time in your life that you're going to be with these people. Just stand your ground, stand up for yourself. Don't let anyone make you feel less than. Don't let anyone make you feel like you're doing something wrong by making good grades or whatever the case may be, because there can just be a lot of cattiness and some jealousy, and I don't really know. It's very strange. It's a dynamic that I had never experienced in my life, and I've worked with mostly women. I am a girl's girl through and through, and I still am. But there was something about being in nursing school that was jarring. It was very jarring. Lot of strong personalities. But just find your people, stick with your people, be kind, smile, say hello to everyone, greet people, but keep your guard up. You're not there necessarily to make friends. You're there to get a diploma, and you're there to learn. Your people are definitely out there, I promise. You're going to meet some of your lifelong friends in the program, and that's probably one of the coolest things that I took out of the program, honestly. We still check on each other all the time. Finally, life after graduation. What? So you've been in school for 100 years, right? You finally graduate. You're finally done with everything that you needed to do. And now you have to take the NCLEX. My program, one of the reasons that I chose them, they had a 90-some% NCLEX pass rate. Every single person in my cohort passed the NCLEX after school. We all took it as soon as we could. We were ready to pass that test. So you definitely want to find out whenever you're choosing a school, you want to know what their NCLEX pass rate is. We used ATI. Literally the last 5 weeks of the program is basically grueling ATI testing, where we're just doing NCLEX practice questions back to back to back. We all went into the NCLEX thinking that I think we failed it. That was the most stressful thing ever. Oh my God. But I think most of ours cut off at 85 questions, which is usually the golden, ding, ding, you did okay. You have to wait 48 hours, though, before you get your results, which is nail biting. But we all did it. We did it. So once you get that out of the way, I think myself, I was left a little shell-shocked. I didn't really know what to do with myself, because when you're on autopilot for so long, your body can kind of go into shock a little bit, I think. My anxiety got a lot worse right after we graduated. I somehow gained 7 pounds, and I didn't know what to do with myself. It was very strange. I'm feeling so much more leveled out now. I think it's just something to make people aware of. It could happen. It could not happen. Not everybody that I graduated with felt that way. I definitely, though, it's my brain just short-circuited as soon as I graduated, and I just didn't know what to do. Now that I wasn't driving back and forth every day to school and studying every second that I had free, I just was like, what? What do I do now? Now let's talk job hunt and LPN Pay Transparency. LPNs a lot of time, not all the time, but a lot of times when you think about LPNs, you think of long-term care facilities, which a lot of us from my cohort, myself included, I actually ended up going to a long-term care facility as well. I start my first nursing job on Monday. Very excited. But I'll tell you why, and I'll be fully transparent with you. I got a job offer from a large hospital system within my area. I live in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and one of the biggest hospitals in the area offered me, as an LPN new grad, $22.22 an hour. That was base pay. It was $2 extra shift diff to work nights, which that's partially why I didn't take the job, because I didn't want to work nights, and I didn't want to get paid $22.22 an hour, okay? I just didn't. And do a 40-minute drive to and from? No, we're not doing that. It was jarring. It was jarring because you paid how much to go to school? I talked about it already. I'm not going to repeat how much I paid. If you were paying attention, you know. So now you're sitting here oh, damn. It's sobering. But the long-term care facility offered $29.50 an hour base pay with $4 shift diff on the weekends. So, and it was day shift as well. So up to $33.50 an hour. And it's a really nice facility. You want to definitely like look into your options, but the thing that I want you guys to take away from this is there's definitely options. There's a million options out there for LPN. You don't just have to work in long-term care facilities. I'm going to work in a long-term care facility until I get my RN license, I think. Just because financially it makes sense for me, and I want to pay down a lot of my student loan debt and my other debt that I accrued in nursing school from just not being able to work as much. So that's what's important to me right now. I'll still be able to get nursing experience. It will not be the acute care experience that I wanted to get at the hospital, but you know, you have to do what you have to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But just know that there is a huge discrepancy in pay between what you would receive in a hospital and what you would receive in a long-term care facility. So just doing your research, looking into the facilities that you apply for or the hospitals that you apply for. Do they have an internship program? Do they have, like, what does their onboarding look like? What does their orientation look like, which is really important? What are the patient ratios? Like, are you safe to work there? Are your patients safe? Is your license safe? Because you worked hard for your license. You don't want to lose it over something crazy. You just kind of have to know sort of maybe what direction you want to go in, but also know that maybe what you go into school thinking you're going to do doesn't necessarily end up being what you're going to do. Right off the bat, you know? Just be flexible with yourself and be kind to yourself above all else. The final takeaways that I can give you guys, and I hope that you got out of this what I wanted to give you, which was just a little bit more understanding of what you might be getting yourself into, but also I want to excite you, and I want you to want to do this. If this is what you want to do it. I cannot tell you enough. The time is going to pass regardless. The time is going to pass. So you're either going to let the time pass and you get a diploma or a degree at the end, or the time's going to pass and you're still sitting there thinking, what if I had done this? So just do the damn thing. Get it done. And just keep telling yourself, like every single day, that you can get through it, because you can. And life flies by anyway. It truly does. It sounds so cliche. Everybody told me when I started, like, oh my gosh, it's just going to fly by. And I was like, no. Because at the time it felt like it was dragging and it was never going to end. But then when it was over, I looked around and I was like, damn, what happened? Like, that was crazy. It's like it just went by in a flash. So you can certainly do this. If you were doubting yourself before, I want you to walk away from this knowing that there is no reason for you to doubt yourself. You are smart enough. You are dedicated enough to do it. There's enough financial resources out there to allow you to do it. You can do it. You can do hard things. Your dream nursing path is still valid, even if it doesn't look traditional. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'd be happy to answer them in the comments. And if you have any other ideas or anything that you would want to see another video about as far as nursing school, maybe some tips or tricks that you can use to study with, things like that, I would be more than willing to share what worked for me and what didn't work for me if you guys want to hear that. Otherwise, let me know what you thought about this video. If you have any feedback as well, I'd love to hear it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!